Escaped drug kingpin El Chapo had an 18-minute head start before anyone in the prison noticed that he was gone. That's according to two Mexican lawmakers. And apparently no prison staffer was assigned to watch him while he was in his cell. Live from Los Angeles to talk about this brazen escape is BuzzFeed News reporter Aram Roston, who has actually met some of El Chapo's cartel members. Good to see you. So, Aram,
good to see you too.
Okay, at the risk of making this sound really casual, you actually had dinner with a cartel member turned government informant, and he actually told you that the Sinaloa cartel encouraged him to become an informant. So why would they do that, and how does that happen?
It was really brilliant. Think of the way espionage works. Think of double agents. They were planting an informant, planting someone who would mislead the U.S. Law enforcement into believing certain things and tell them certain information about Chapo's enemies. So those guys would, the federal agents would go after Chapo's enemies and other cartels, the Juarez cartel and La Linea and so forth, as he and his cartel tried to move into territory and take over, which is what they've been doing so successfully.
So this kind of manipulation really has helped El Chapo, really feel like the big man and really be the big man.
Yeah, it has. I mean, he's mastered, in a sense. It's not a matter of infiltrating the DEA and ICE, but I managed to get documents to prove, really, that he'd planted informants both at DEA and at ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And in both those cases, he managed in some way to get them the exact information he wanted them to know. And so that was very useful to him. Think of a spy novel. Think of an espionage tactic. That's exactly what you want your enemies, to knock off your other enemies.
Right. So clearly, think of his escape, because everyone's been wondering how in the world was he able to pull this off, and clearly there had to be some complicity on many, many levels, and that's been the inference of so many. So then, knowing this about him and the Sinaloa cartel and how he works and how he buys this kind of support, what's your gut feeling tell you about the search for him? Who would cooperate in assisting in his recapture?
Who knows? I mean, it's all speculation, but we do know that the Mexican Marines have been sort of favored or seen by the Americans as the most trustworthy partners down there. They're the ones who captured him. They're the ones who've captured and, in some cases, killed a number of cartel leaders. So they'd be the ones the Americans work with the most. I think there's no doubt about that.
But do you feel like anyone would dare to do that?
It's a good question. I mean, is he going to be captured alive? They're certainly going after him. Listen, the Americans have sort of, over in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Americans have these procedures and these tactics they use to target what they call high-value targets, intelligence tactics and other tactics that they've refined over the last decade that they believe are very helpful in locating people. That doesn't mean that the Americans have any ability to grab people on the ground, and they've been so frustrated in their search for Chapo and others.
Right. Well, we know the U.S. will be working really hard. It just seems like it's going to be very difficult to get the cooperation on the ground. If anyone knows anything or sees anything, it seems like they might be reluctant to share.
Oh, that makes sense.
We'll find out. All right, Aram Roston, you would know better than anybody else. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much. All right, coming up.